Hello.
Welcome back.
This is Girls We Go, episode 2. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in again. Or if this is your first time, welcome. So today we're going to get in the nitty gritty and address the Miss Elephant in the room. So one of us in this room, one of us doesn't live in the country. She lives somewhere else.
Dun, dun, dun.
You might not even know where this is at. You don't know where this is at. I've never even fucking heard of it until apparently you decided to live there. I was like, you're going where? She lives in Paris. So I personally, when I found out that you were leaving to Paris, I thought that was like, it was very fitting for who you are to leave.
That's so funny.
Like, our friend group is a group of 7. Super blessed to have everybody. And obviously the chances are like someone's going to, not everybody's going to stay where we are
I never thought about it like that. I thought
like
we were all
odds,
gonna just like, stick together.
Like live in California?
I thought we were all gonna live in the States.
Really?
I didn't not for one second think that someone else was gonna live in a different country.
Really?
Which is funny. That's what I'm saying.
I did not think that. I thought someone was going to leave. I thought someone was going to study abroad for sure. I'm like, one of us, at least one of us is going to leave to study abroad. I didn't know like live out the country forever for sure. I didn't think that, but it was fitting for it to have been you for sure. But I didn't think about that in the beginning though. In the beginning of our friendship, I feel like that came about, at least from my perspective. You kind of grew into, or you allowed it. I don't know if you grew into it or you allowed it to show like your adventureness, your spontaneity. Is that a word?
Spontaneity?
Yes.
That's the word.
Yeah. Like that just really came out and blossomed. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I never expected myself to live. I never saw myself to live elsewhere than the States.
Awesome.
So I've been living there for 3 years. It's gonna be 3 years.
Yeah. It's felt like forever.
I feel like it flew by so fast.
Oh, 100%. It's still going by really, really fast. And she's still there.
I'm still living there. I'm visiting now. I no longer live in California. My family does. My friends do.
Yeah. So tell us, like, how did this even, like, come about? Out of all the places, like, why Paris? What made you want to, like, go? Take me back to where you were at, like, when this
all right, let's revert real quick.
Let's run it back.
Get your snack, because it's going to be a long back.
Let's run this back. We can get into the nitty-gritty.
So, it was a warm
sunny day.
No, where was I? What was I
2020.
doing? What was I doing? It was COVID, no?
Before that.
But it was during.
Yes.
It was during. It was like in the end of it, I think. But it was in 2021.
2020.
2020.
Yeah. 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in a point of my life where I think a lot of us go through at one point or the other of what am I going to do with my life? Like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? I was asking myself all those questions and I was going insane. I was coming up with a multitude of possibilities that I could do as a career.
And you're 21 at this time, or just turned 21?
21, 22, I think.
21, I think.
21.
Yeah, we turned 21 during 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember I was like, okay, I had the idea of having my own clothing business. I wanted to bring back the 60s clothes. And then from there, I was like, but I don't want to be a part and another addition to the consumerism of that. So I was like, that's not going to do anything because I wanted to do something meaningful. I always had that in me. And so I thought about what if I do like Peace Corps? Is it Peace Corps or Peace Corps? Corps,
I believe.
I think so.
You know what we're talking about.
Peace Corps.
Peace Corps. I think it's Peace Corps.
I think so. And I went to the meetings. I was like doing my essays and everything to apply there. And I was really excited to go.
Were you telling us about this? No, I don't think you kept this kind of like on the DL.
Yeah. And then I met up with them and everything. And then I was going to CSUSB. and
which is Cal State San Bernardino.
Yeah, in California. And I don't know, I just was walking. There was a fair going on for study abroad, and I was like walking in it, and then there was like a section of for a year, and the other section was for a semester. And I remember I was like I went to the 1 year because I was like, you know what, I mean, I was like, ooh, study abroad, what is that? And I was like, oh, I could do that. And I was like talking to them, and then I was like, no, I want to go for a year. I just like, I never had that like, no, I want to stay here. I always had that.
People sometimes even do like just a summer, or it's a semester. Like you went in like for.
I wanted to go for like full throttle,
and it was bonkers when you told us like, oh, I'm going for.
Yeah, because I didn't tell you guys in the process of it. I was just doing all this in the DL.
Yeah, we'll keep telling your process. Like there's like little things that we didn't know, like when you got. Well, I'll say when you.
Oh. And so initially I was like, what if I applied to Germany? And I was like, what if? The whole time of this process, I was like, what if? I never had any expectations. I always went in what if, and I had that like, ooh, there's something to do in my life right now, and I want to take that opportunity. Because like I said, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing in my life. Who am I? Blah blah blah. And so
you were open to the process.
Yeah,
like you felt completely like,
because I had all the time in the world in my head. Like I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna dedicate myself to this, put all my time and energy in this. Because what if it's not gonna happen? Like I never thought it was gonna happen. Really? It was always what if.
Yeah. So, but there is something like there's a pull. There's a gravitational
there was a really big pull. Yeah, and but it was to Germany, and then because there was like a couple of options that you can go abroad for a year. It's like CSUIP. It's like Cal State University International Program. And I looked at the Paris one, and it was like the pictures that they had to portray Paris. It was like the gloominess, and it was like disgusting. Like I didn't like approaching at all. Like I didn't want to go at all. And plus it was the most expensive one, and I was like, no, what the heck? And so I had already like visited to Paris prior, and I was like, no. And so I was applying to the Germany one, but then like I don't know, it was just one night where I, like, hindsight now, I believe is the Holy Spirit, and I feel like it was God like telling me like, no, just do this one. And I just had like I'm saying like, I don't think it was me doing this because I would have not picked Paris. Like I for sure would have not.
It was like divinely orchestrated.
For sure had.
Wait, so you had, it was one night, what?
It was one night where I was just looking at the Paris program, and I was like, oh, you know, no, why not? I guess it turned into why not instead of what if. I was like, why not? And I applied to there, and
an additional to the Germany?
No, I just went directly to the Paris one.
Oh,
like that's what I'm saying. I wasn't me.
Like, yeah. You like let it go. You're like, all right, I'm gonna just put my eggs in this basket.
I made like me say like hindsight. I had like there was no reason for me to choose Paris because I was not looking at Paris at all. My number one was Germany.
Yeah.
And so it happened, and I applied, and then...
And so both of these programs, they offered like what you wanted to study in both?
Yeah, because my majors were communications and media studies, and Germany had communications, and they had business, and Paris had communications as well, like communication classes. So they applied to my requirements. Yeah, I applied there.
Oh, dang. All right, so you applied. When did you hear back?
I heard back on my birthday.
Whoa, you're lying.
March 17th, yeah.
Holy shit. I don't even think I remember this.
No, yeah, I applied.
On your birthday?
Yeah, on my birthday. I remember like my
what?
My parents were like cooking dinner downstairs. And mind you, I didn't tell anybody about this. All I told was my mom. She, not even my family members. Like I didn't tell anybody that I was like applying to study abroad for a year.
But you knew that they would support you if you went.
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't also want to... Like, you know, when you say something, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And you feel like, like everybody knew and everybody was hyped, and I got everybody hyped, and it didn't happen.
Now it didn't happen. Yeah.
You know, so that was also, and I was thinking like that too. And so my dad was cooking downstairs with my mom, and like I saw my email, like, oh, no. I was actually, because they hadn't told me already, and I was like, why haven't they told me like an answer? And so I was.
How long did it take for them to get
I don't remember. Probably like a week, maybe like 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks.
Okay. And this is in March. Oh yeah, this is March.
Yeah, and I was on FaceTime with an advisor, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to know if you have like an update on my portfolio. My application, sorry. And she was like, oh, you know what? I could check right now. And I was like, okay. And I was like, like very, like she was like very nonchalant. Let me just check right now. Yeah. And I was just super nervous. And then she checked. She was like, oh, what's your name? And I told her, and then she was like, oh yeah, you got accepted. And I was like, what? And I was like super shocked because I had no idea like I was actually going to be accepted. It was just like a hypothetical thing in my mind.
Do you feel like it felt very far away? Like, is that something that...
It for sure felt like a far away thing because I never saw myself studying, living abroad. Because it was never around me, you know? Like, our friend Ashley went to study abroad.
For a summer?
Yeah, but not in my school, not in my... Because she lives in San Diego, Ashley.
She studied in San Diego.
Yeah, so, I don't know, it was just never in my...
Yeah. And it's also not something that we really hear or see about growing up.
Like, at least USUSB wasn't... I mean, that fair was, but it's not very, like, pushed.
And it's not in your face all the time. Or it's not a common experience. Yeah, exactly. It's also, like... I don't know, where we grew up and stuff, going abroad and living anywhere else just sounds very foreign. Yeah. Even though, like, we're both daughters of immigrants and we both, like, our parents literally came to another country to start a life here.
From scratch with nobody here.
But when I think, like, I don't know if you felt the same way, but when they came here, you really felt like, oh, this is where they chose to root down, so I need to be here.
Yeah.
So it's like going somewhere else is like, why would you go somewhere else when we came for here?
Yeah, when they built this.
Because you have this perception that, like, we have this perception, at least, I don't know if you do, but at least I do, that here, quote unquote, is a quote unquote best, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really envision your life anywhere else because you're like, my parents came here because they perceived this was the best option based on proximity and resources or whatever, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So I could see why you're like, I didn't ever
and also the school, USUSB, it's not very international. So I also wasn't around anybody international, like abroad.
Yeah.
So not only was the information not told to me, but also I wasn't around a very diverse environment.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's what happened. And then I texted you guys. And I said I'm going to Paris.
And the reason why we kind of like, after we found out that you were going, it was like, oh my God, how did we not see the signs? She got a French tutor. You got a French tutor.
Oh yeah.
And what she expressed to us was like, I just really want to learn French. Like, I really just want to learn the language and blah, 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 which I'm sure you did.
I forgot about
But
that.
I wonder if, when you got the tutor, did you get it because you knew the opportunity did arise, or was it solely on curiosity and just wanting to learn this language?
No. I forgot about that. I remember when I applied, I was like, but I don't know French. And I was like, oh, how am I going to do it if I get accepted? Like, those thoughts did come to mind. I wasn't like, oh, I'm never going to do it. Like, I also had like a little like, yeah, maybe I will. And so I wanted to be prepared. Like I said, I put all my time and energy in this to work out in hindsight. And so
how did you look up a French tutor?
I literally just Googled like French tutor near me, and like that's all.
Oh yeah. I'd be forgetting Google is like a resource.
Yeah, you can easily find anything. Like, you want to learn any language, or someone out there teaching it. And I found this guy, and it was just like over Zoom. He was a little older, and he taught me some things. I bought like books, and I was like, yeah, I guess I was preparing myself for the language in a way. Again, not me thinking that I was gonna get it, but my mom would, because my mom is she's very educated. Although she came to the States as an immigrant, she worked her way up and she got her doctorate in theology, and she's like been teaching classes and stuff. And one of the classes that she's taken was about neuroscience, neurolinguistics. And one of the things that they were talking about that she taught me, that helped me in this process, was she was like, imagine yourself in there already. Imagine yourself in Paris already. Like, what do you feel? What do you see? Like, she introduced me to that world of like, oh, you can manifest it, I guess you can say now you can manifest it. And so she would tell me to do these exercises, just imagine myself on the plane, imagine myself landing, imagine myself there. And so I would do that too, plus like learning the language and stuff. So yeah.
Oh dang. Oh my God.
I guess I did prepare.
I forgot that you heard on your birthday. So you heard on your birthday. When did you leave?
And we had an episode of the podcast that day too for our season 1.
Really?
We all wore green.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But we didn't want to let the cat out the bag. We didn't want to let the cat out the bag. I remember you were like, we're not talking about it, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about when we get there.
And I never like, the process of like me from when I got accepted to me landing, I was never scared. Like any obstacle that I was going through, I was like, easy, I could do it. Easy, 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 easy. Like,
yeah, and you had to get your visa.
No, it was a whole process. Yeah.
Explain the process for someone who's even curious about going.
So CSUIP, you have to go through their own process to prepare before you leave. And also they encourage you, or they tell you that you need to also do with the visa process. There's like 3 different processes, but I can't remember right now. But they're easy. They have like the resources there for you if you do it through the school, which is really helpful. And but it's just annoying how all the papers you need to get the appointment. It's just mundane things that you need to do, but it's not so hard. Like, it's not hard. And so if anyone out there is interested in studying abroad, like, go for it. Like, it's not hard. It's possible. Don't allow yourself to think like, what if, why not? That really helped me. And yeah, so that whole process was a whole thing.
And you left in August.
It left
so
in
you
August.
found out in March, and then you had the whole rest of
summer.
the year in summer to...
And then August. And then I was there for a whole year. That's a whole thing.
Journey in itself. So what, like, you landed, what were you living in a dorm? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I was living in a dorm. I was enrolled in the program CSUIP. Their partner, the partner is MISAFA, and MISAFA is over there in France, and they're the ones that help you enroll in the French universities. And so with them, you're able to pick different universities. Like, say one university worked out for me for one semester, and I need certain classes in another semester. I mean, another university gives it. I can go to that one. I can transfer universities each semester. Yeah, with no problem. Yeah. Other programs don't have that, aren't as flexible. So yeah, I did that, and for a year I enrolled in 2 semesters in 2 different universities, or I think 3 French universities. Everything was in French.
It was wild.
Once you get there, they immerse you by having like a 2-week course where, like, the first they see what level of French you're in, and then you do the class of trying to speed you up with the culture, the language, and all that. And then they help you with like getting a phone and getting insurance and doing all that. And they help you with that when you're there.
Oh my gosh.
I know my mom and my sister dropped me off. They went with me over there to Paris, and they dropped me off there. And it wasn't like a sad goodbye when I said bye to them. It was like, see you later. Like, I knew I was going to visit here. Like, it was never I didn't have that problem of like detaching myself to my family in that way, because my mom's support helped me a lot.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
she would always tell me like, go fly, like go. And I feel like she was living through me, because my mom is very much like a very big dreamer, and like, from leaving her family, or literally doing what I did from like Mexico to here. Like, she was the one that pushed me a lot and was like, no, you go as far as you want, and we'll support you all the way. And I remember, like, before leaving, I told my mom, like, no, like, I want you to know that when I leave, I'm not coming back. I'm not gonna live over here anymore. Like, I don't know, I just knew that. And I was like, I just want you to know, like, I'm not gonna, like, I'm leaving. Like, this is it. And she knew that too. Like, she had an instinct too, that, because she knew me, and she knew that, like, there's a life that I'm supposed to live elsewhere that's not here with her. And yeah, I know for my dad it was really hard, but I think my mom helped him out with that, like having his own, like, his young daughter, and the whole like country
literally across the world.
Yeah,
across seas.
Yeah.
And I remember when you went, knowing you and knowing how you were and knowing where you were heading and where your mind was growing into, I also knew, and like we would always talk about it with the girls, like, oh, she's not coming back.
Really?
Like, no, she's gonna, I don't know if Paris is gonna be your forever home. Like, we didn't know if it was gonna be Paris, but we knew that you wouldn't come back after a year, because life would just take you somewhere else, And so it's crazy that you say that, like, that you just always kind of knew, even though you didn't know how you were gonna get there, you knew that this back home was it for you, and not in like a
And I think it's because like
mean way.
no, I think it's my my lifestyle, my
Your
how I
values.
live, my
Yeah.
values. It just I always said this before I left. Like when people would ask me like why France, I think it's also because I don't know, I align more with their lifestyle, with their values. And it's funny because like I come back when I visit and I guess I don't know, I dress the same in my eyes, but my friends and family are like, oh, you're so French, blah blah blah. But like my nephew is like, no, you've always worn these clothes. Like this has always been your style. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like
I love that he tells you
I
that
know.
because he's her nephew. How old is your nephew?
He's like 10.
Yeah. And he always knew who you were.
Yeah.
Like he knew exactly who you were.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a change. Like, no, you're just fully you. And I think that's something that I admire about you is that you've always had a very strong ability to be you very loudly.
Really? I don't see it loudly. What do you mean by that?
Like even knowing you, even before I met you in high school, I felt like you always had like I'm gonna show and dress and exist on my own terms. Like I'm not trying to follow the trend. I'm not trying to do whatever. I'm just doing what I want to do and what I like. Even in your clothes.
Yeah.
You're always very expressive in fashion. For sure.
I never saw it as loud.
Not loud.
I know,
like
but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or even like I never thought of it that way because I guess like I said in a previous episode, I don't have that like because that worry of like what other people, the judgment of people. Since I don't think about that or care about that at all, I think that just is easier for me to express myself, to be who I am without, you know. But yeah.
So you lived there. You did your whole year studying. How did you feel after that year?
I mean, there's a lot to say with my first year experience over there, because I don't know, I didn't feel lonely. I was never alone. Yeah, I was never alone because I had God. God really was like the rock, especially in that it is the rock of my life, but especially in that time, because that's what gave my mom comfort too. She's like, because you believe in God, that makes me feel way less nervous that you're going, because you have a relationship with God. Because she's like, he's the one that will love you forever and will do has your back. And so because she always reassured me with this truth, I had this like stableness in me, I guess, that I was able to cultivate home anywhere within myself because of God. And I think that really helped me adapt over there, especially because the culture is completely different. You don't see Mexicanos like around. You don't see even the Spanish is like from Spain.
Yeah,
the little things add up when making someone feel like they're not like environmental what they're used to. Yeah, what they're used to. Yeah, for sure.
I love that that you had a really strong sense of, I mean, through God, like this internal home. So that way when you were assimilating to this culture, I'm assuming it aided you when you were trying to figure out like, okay, how do I cultivate home here? And who's going to be a part of this new home in terms of friends? And
yeah, I never thought about it like that in terms of friends and stuff. I always thought if my interior is good, my exterior will reflect that. I never thought of my exterior should be good and then my interior. And I think that philosophy of living has helped me be able to adapt to different things, because if I'm good in here, if I have love in here, if I have I don't know, it's hard to explain, I guess. I don't know, it's not hard to explain. Yeah, it's simple as that. Yeah. If I have home inside, then outside doesn't matter where I am. And that's, I guess, another way of saying if God is with me, it doesn't matter where I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And did you ever have moments where like where you worried if you were going to find a community in Paris? Like, how was
So
it
the good thing
cultivating
is that I went with a program, and so it was with a bunch of Americans in a little group. So I knew people over there, Americans. So it wasn't like they just left me there like solita, like just like there.
Yeah.
I was with like people who spoke English and stuff. But even that, I only like hung out with a couple of people who had the same values as I did, because before leaving Paris, I did go through that whole transition of like, what are my values? What are my principles? What's the philosophy that I live by? So I think God was like, slowly with these different transitions before leaving, prepped me. And like, even before I left, I had a trip to go to Mexico with my family, and I was like, every moment that I was with them, I was really cherishing it, because I was like, I know everything's gonna change once I go. I just knew. And so like, even like in my house before I left, I would like have like a moment of just like presentness and just like thankful to God for leading me up to this point of my life, and just really, grasping where my roots are, because that's what I think he was doing with me, was just making sure like I'm okay with my roots, and like, because he's sending me off somewhere where it's like far away from that. Yeah, so I applied for a second year. I got accepted.
You're with our friends Vivi and Gary?
Yeah, I was with my friends Vivi and Gary. They had visited me, and prior to that, my parents visited me over there. My mom had she brought frozen enchiladas to take me over there. It was really nice. And
what was your living situation in your second year?
Yeah, sorry. So for the first year, I was in a dorm, and then the second year, the transition to the second year, I met my now partner. And we decided to move in together to an apartment. And so we were living in the apartment for a whole year. We got 2 bunnies. And then we recently just moved again, and now we're in a house with the 2 bunnies still. and I have my own space, which is perfect.
For sure.
So yeah, now I've been there for 3 years. Moved different living spaces.
Yeah, now you graduated from school. She's not in school.
Yeah, now I'm graduated, and now I'm looking for jobs.
Looking for jobs in Paris.
Yeah, going through that whole visa process over there too. That's a whole pain in the ass.
Yeah, it was a whole thing, a whole journey for sure. Oh my goodness, that's so. I think obviously I got to live through the journey with you as your friend, and it was so beautiful to watch how that unfolded. And it warms my heart knowing that like a piece of me is another part in the world, and you're like living your little life and doing, I'm about to freaking cry.
Girl.
Doing your thing. And that is so fulfilling for me to see as your friend. Like, I would want nothing more than for you to be able to fly and live and exist wherever your heart is telling you to. So I've always been in such awe of your journey. And even now, as you're running it back, even though I know what you're like, even though I've heard all of this already, it still hits me with awe. And I'm just really proud of you and what you've cultivated. And I'm happy that you went with this strong sense of like rooting, because that is so important when you are maneuvering and changing and coming into an adult, especially coming into an adult in a new environment. Your roots are so incredibly important. And I think I love how, I'm sure you would say, like, through God you're able to seamlessly, not seamlessly, but through him you're able to go through this process and cultivate it, because it was almost as if it was divinely orchestrated for you. Like, you knew you needed to do this, and you didn't know the exact reason why, but you knew, I need to get real serious about this. I need to get real clear about this, because this is my pillars. This is what's holding me up, and this is what's going to help me maneuver through this new world that you were going to be and exist in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the relationship with God, through that, God speaks to you in different ways. And with those little messages through people, through events, it gives you reassurance and comfort, that because sometimes, there are times where you're like, wait, am I here alone? I don't know. Like, are you still here with me? I don't hear you. But, through those different messages, you get reassured again. And like, you fall, and then it's like he picks you up. But it's with that consistent consistent nurturing of the relationship. You know, it's not like I prayed once every Sunday or something, and then that's how I cultivated my relationship with God even closer for me to feel as confident and secure in myself and in my situation. But it's more of, you know, every day, praying every day, you know, doing these little minuscule things, even like moments of like, okay, you know, let me hush and just like be thankful for this moment. I know it's like it's become, I feel like, very cheesy and oversaturated. People say like to be grateful, and like it's, but while they're not being grateful, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just reminding yourself and sacrificing those minuscule moments for that, because it's like for the long term. And it's always so weird to come back to visit, because every time I come back it's something different. Like I just, you know, your perspective obviously changes. But especially, like, I don't know, you just, the culture here, and also, you know, I learn things over there and I'm like, well, yeah, it's common sense, duh. And I come over here, it's like, oh, well, you guys
Like
are like, what? Like,
give me an example.
Like just the wines, like.
we don't know wines.
The wines. No, like never in the refrigerator. You just put in like the dark, like in a dark room where it's like a little bit cold, chilled.
Like a little wine cellar.
But even like the taste of the wine, or even like just the way that the different ways of like just living obviously are completely different. But yeah, I've been able to meet a lot of different people from different parts of the world over there. And have a different perspective for sure.
One of the things, I've gone to visit you in Paris, and it was like one of the best experiences I've ever had.
We had like a Europe trip.
Yeah, we had a little trip around Europe, and I fell in love with Paris, and I could totally see why you did as well. And one of the things that I'm sure a lot of places in Europe also have in common, and other places in the United States as well, but definitely not in Southern California, is the ability to walk everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I love how and I really do feel, I'm so freaking passionate about this. If I can go to the city council hall in Los Angeles and be like, what are we doing? Like let's really make this a commutable city. Like I feel that it would heal so many of our issues. And I think that's like one of the beauties that I got to see in Paris, of how much of a difference it makes in your lifestyle being able to walk places. Sounds so silly, but health issues would be fixed. A lot of health issues would be fixed. Mental health would also increase. Just community, I feel like, is also orchestrated better through just walking.
Yeah, like
maneuvering in that
there
way.
was times where I felt, you know, you just feel so comfortable living in. I felt so comfortable living in my apartment where I wouldn't leave, because it's hard to make friends as an adult, but also like in a different country.
For sure, different language.
But even while being in the metro, being around people, even though I didn't know them, it still made a difference in my spirit, because I would feel like, oh yeah, there's people here. Like you don't see me. I mean, I don't, like, you know, but your presence is there, and that means that does something to our body, I think, and psychologically, I think so too. You don't feel alone as you think that you are, you know. Sure. Just being around people. And I enjoyed being in the metro. I enjoyed those times, even though like my partner would be like, oh, the metro. I'd be like, no, the metro. Like, yeah, I like the metro.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed taking the metro in Paris.
Yeah.
I felt it was very I had little moments where I would like get on the wrong side and go like north to south and like get those mixed up. But
it's easy.
It was very easy to navigate for sure. So tell me about Paris. What's like your favorite area to kind of hang out at? What areas did you live in? I know that probably we might not be super familiar, but give it to us as best as you can.
So in my dorm, I lived in like the center of Paris, I would say. It's like in the cusp of the 5th and the 14th arrondissement. Like you know how like, well, Paris is divided into different departments, and they're called arrondissements. And there's 21, I think 20 of them, and it's like a snail. it looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lived in the center, and then when I moved into the apartment with my partner, we lived in the 18th, which is like where Montmartre is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like where like the big old Sacré-Cœur. Yeah, like the huge church and like all the stairs. We lived there. It was like a 10-minute walk from us. We'd always take walks. I loved that because now we live
like
in
where all like the painters.
Yeah,
and, like,
it was like the artist
would live and like paint there.
Pablo Picasso.
Yeah. It was gorgeous, by the way, guys.
So
it
cute.
was beautiful.
The cobblestones and everything.
And I never thought about, I don't know, I'm sure it's a very touristy area, but I don't know why I want to go here. You know, that was never my forefront. You introduced me to that. Because I only knew of like Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, like I wasn't that well versed in the different historical parts of Paris, but there's so much to it.
No, there is. And each part, like, they're so close to each other, too. So, like, you walk, it's so easy to go to the next one. And also, like, each one has its own, like, perks, has its own
for sure
personality, which is cool, too. But, yeah, we live there. And then now I live in the outskirts of Paris, like in the suburbs, I guess you can say, in the house. And that's, like, I don't know, I guess I could say it's, like, northeast.
Okay.
No, southeast. Yeah, southeast of Paris, if that says anything.
Yeah. But she lives like pretty commutable into the city.
Yeah,
like, you like 10 minutes now, you said, in the metro?
No, yeah, like 8 minutes. I'm there in the middle where I first lived.
Oh, yeah, that's super close.
Yeah.
But you're able to be a little bit away from the city.
Yeah, I love being in a house because I thrive in like small, like silent, calm areas.
Is that something that you learned when you were over there?
Yeah, I learned in the house because living in Paris, I felt like the sense of, I went through like a lot of turmoil when I was in Paris living in the apartment because I don't know, I was going through a lot. And I mean, I guess it's like normal, obviously, now saying out loud, but I think a part of it has to do with me living around a busy city, like having my neighbors, like that was my first time living in an apartment. Just having neighbors, babies crying, parties happening. Like my upstairs neighbor always had parties going on, and like dogs and everything, all the noises, the construction, like that. Just, I felt like my body was always in like a little like unease all the time living in there. And then now that I live in outskirts, I feel like so much calmer. And now when I go in Paris, I'm like, oh my God, I can feel automatically, directly, like the difference in my body. And I feel like it's like hustle and buzz, and I'm like, no, I'm so glad I don't live inside the city anymore.
Yeah, but you're grateful for the time that you
for sure.
But I think it's
like, I love just walking around with the terraces, having a little beer. And like, because the house that I live in, like, there's not a lot of, it's not the same as living in Paris, for sure. Just having the fashion around you, the people around you. I definitely did enjoy it. And
you're
I still
ready
like
for
going.
Else, yeah.
But now I go like every other weekend, and I'm like, oh, cool, like a little excursion.
Now you get to like see it in a whole different way too.
Yeah. Appreciate the smaller things too, for sure, being outside of it.
Okay, so now that you're back, what do you feel like your time over there is gonna look like when you get back?
Wait, repeat that question. I was just like, thinking right now, it feels so weird talking so much about myself because I'm not used to that. So sorry, feel like I have to apologize for that.
No, definitely don't. I could see why it could be uncomfortable, but
because I'm like, we
love it. I love to hear it. But how do you feel like your time in Paris is going to look like in the near future, if you have any idea?
I don't know how long. I don't know anything, but I know that I'm staying there for a cool minute, for sure.
Oh my God.
I want to be an English teacher, and it's more flexible, I guess you can say, my career, because I still don't have that. I know what I want to do, which is do meaningful work. And that is why I want to do, be an English teacher. But I also want to do like a nonprofit organization, like just helping, just volunteering. I just want to help humanity. So I think with that, I can do that anywhere. I don't really have like, oh, I really want to do this. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like an NAE to be here for that.
Yeah, no. Definitely. I feel like me growing up and still being over there, I feel myself more more attracted to the simple living, like simple stuff. I just want to raise a family. I want to have like 5 kids. I want to just like, you know, do volunteer work and that's it. Like I'm good with that. And then but before I was always like, yeah, I want to be like have all this money. I want to have my own business, entrepreneur, blah blah blah. But then I grew out of that. So
yeah. Doesn't make either one like. I love how you allowed yourself to move in and out of these like wants and needs without any judgment, because I feel like oftentimes we, at least for me going into my career, and in which we're going to talk about all of that in another episode, but
so it's not just about me.
Going into, I guess, just releasing old ideas. There's a lot of like, sometimes we have a really tight grip on that, and I love that you were able to let that go and be like, I don't want that anymore. And that's okay. It's not like I'm losing a part of who I am. It's not like, or you were okay with shedding it, but you still had you know, like your core was still growing, and you allowed that to evolve and go with you and change and morph and all that. And I think that's super important when, especially as you're always, you know, but especially during this coming of age time where you're really cultivating and painting what you want your life to look like. Because I feel like that's what being in your 20s is you are, I mean, always, as always, but especially in your 20s when you're establishing yourself, like you need to have fluidity in your mind and in your being, so that way you can grow and shape to who you are divinely orchestrated to be, you know? So, and I love that you allowed that to shed without judging yourself or like holding on to it with like a tight jaw. You're like, no, like you allowed it to go, you know? Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. Did you feel that?
No, I agree, because I'm reflecting while you're talking about that. And there is some truth in that, I think. Again, it has to do with relationship with God. At the end of the day, that's what keeps me sane. That's what keeps me stable. It's like, okay, if I have this belief in God, my God will do what is good for me. He will make things happen. He will put people in my life. Situations happen, and it is his will that I want to live out, not mine. And when I surrender to his will, that's when I can feel power, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about have this control. I don't have to think that I'm gonna be this person or that person. Like he has it. He got it. Like I'm just here to imitate Christ as much as I can, and also you know, developed my faith life. And and he will take care of the rest. I think me surrendering to that really helps me transition into these different parts of myself, because I have that understanding, you know.
I love that.
Yeah, that's my Paris story.
Your Paris story. I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
But we're going to wrap this up.
To be continued.
To be continued. If you have any questions for Diana, leave it on our social media. If you have any specifics that you'd want to go, maybe she could talk about it in another episode or in another format. But thanks, Diana, for sharing and being so open about your journey. Again, this journey has been so beautiful to watch and unfold as your friend, and just you sharing this to whoever is listening. It's beautiful that you allowed us to kind of enter your life in that way and to know your journey, because it was beautiful, and it is beautiful, and it's still unfolding beautifully, and it's very divinely orchestrated, and I love that. I'm super excited for you and how this continues to unfold.
Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you
in our next
episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.